Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation on resources and development. I'm excited to have you all here. Today, we'll explore key aspects of how resources are managed and developed to support growth and progress. Over the next few slides, we'll cover the main types of resources, development strategies, and the importance of sustainable practices. Let's get started. Today, we are wrapping up our discussion with the conclusion, which ties together all the key ideas we've explored. We started with an introduction to resources, understanding what they are and why they matter. Then, we looked at how resources can be classified into different types, helping us see their diversity and importance. Next, we discussed resource planning, emphasizing how crucial it is to use our resources wisely and sustainably. We also examined issues related to resource use, such as overexploitation and environmental impact, which highlight the need for responsible management. Moving forward, we explored resource conservation, including Gandhiji's ideas on conserving resources, which remind us of the importance of simple, sustainable practices. We also looked at sustainable development, understanding how development can meet present needs without compromising future generations. In terms of natural resources, we examined the different types of soil in India and their significance as vital resources. We saw how land degradation threatens these resources and the importance of maintaining healthy soil. Finally, we discussed the importance of resource planning and specific measures like soil as a resource, which are essential for sustainable growth. All these points connect to our overall theme. The responsible management and conservation of resources are vital for a sustainable future. Welcome to Slide 3, where we start to explore the introduction to resources. Here, I want to emphasize how crucial resources are to the success of any project or initiative. Resources can include a wide range of things: people, tools, time, and even financial assets. Understanding what resources are available and how to effectively utilize them is key to achieving our goals. As we move through this presentation, keep in mind that managing resources wisely connects directly to the overall theme of efficiency and strategic planning. So, let's dive into the basics of what resources are and why they matter so much in our work. So, when we talk about resources, we're referring to everything around us in our environment that we can potentially use to meet our needs. But it's important to understand that not everything is automatically considered a resource. For something to truly qualify, it has to meet certain conditions. First, it needs to be technologically accessible, meaning we have the means and knowledge to utilize it. Second, it must be economically feasible, so it makes sense financially to use or extract it. And third, it has to be culturally acceptable, respecting the norms and values of the society we're part of. When all these conditions are met, then that part of our environment can be called a resource. This definition really helps us understand how we recognize and categorize the things we can use around us, whether it's natural elements like water and minerals, or even human-made tools and infrastructure. Understanding this concept is fundamental because it ties directly into how we manage and utilize our environment sustainably, ensuring we meet our needs without depleting resources or causing harm. So, in essence, resources are all around us, but they only become valuable when they are accessible, feasible, and acceptable within our society. Human beings interact with nature in many ways, and one of the main ways we do this is through technology. Technology acts as a bridge, allowing us to harness natural resources and process them to meet our needs. It's a vital part of how we adapt and shape our environment. At the same time, we don't just rely on technology alone. We also create institutions. These are the rules, organizations, and systems that help us manage our interactions with nature and technology effectively. These institutions can include laws, policies, or even cultural norms that guide sustainable and responsible use of natural resources. All of these elements, technology and institutions, are deeply interconnected. They work together to accelerate our economic development by making our efforts more efficient, organized, and sustainable. This interdependent relationship underscores how human innovation and social structures are both essential to our progress. So, in the context of the overall theme, it's clear that our ability to develop economically depends heavily on how well we can manage this relationship with nature through technology and institutions. This dynamic is central to understanding how societies grow and evolve over time. Let's take a closer look at the classification of resources. When we talk about resources, we're essentially categorizing them based on their characteristics and how they can be used. This classification helps us understand their role in supporting various processes and activities. First, we often divide resources into natural and human resources. Natural resources are those that come from the environment, like water, minerals, forests, and land. These are vital because they form the foundation for many industries and activities. Human resources, on the other hand, refer to the people involved. Think of their skills, knowledge, and labor. Next, within these broad categories, we can further classify resources based on their availability and renewability. For example, renewable resources, such as solar energy or wind, can be replenished naturally over time. Non-renewable resources, like coal or oil, are finite and can be exhausted. Recognizing this helps us plan for sustainable usage. Another important aspect is the classification based on their economic value or strategic importance. Some resources are critical for national security or economic stability, which makes their management and conservation even more essential. Throughout this presentation, understanding how resources are classified allows us to better analyze their management and optimize their utilization, aligning with our overall goal of sustainable development. All right, let's dive into the classification of resources based on their origin. First, we have abiotic resources. These are composed of non-living things, such as rocks and metals. They come from the Earth's crust and are essential for various industries, especially construction and manufacturing. Because they are non-living, they don't reproduce or grow, so their availability depends on how we manage and utilize them. On the other hand, we have biotic resources. These are obtained from the biosphere and have life. Think of human beings, plants, animals, fisheries, and livestock. These resources are renewable, meaning they can grow or reproduce, but only if we take care of them sustainably. They form a crucial part of our ecosystems and economies. When we talk about classification by origin, it helps us understand how these resources come into being and how they can be replenished or exhausted. Recognizing whether a resource is abiotic or biotic guides us in managing them responsibly and ensuring their availability for future generations, which ties back to our overall theme of sustainable resource use. Let's talk about resources today, starting with non-recyclable resources. These are resources like fossil fuels, which cannot be recycled once used up. They get exhausted over time because we can't replace them easily. Moving on, we have metals, which are also considered non-recyclable resources, although some can be recycled, but generally they are finite. Next, we have recyclable resources. These are resources that can be reprocessed and reused, like metals, which can be melted down and repurposed multiple times. Recycling helps conserve these resources and reduces environmental impact. Now, let's differentiate between non-renewable and renewable resources. Non-renewable resources, such as minerals and fossil fuels, are formed over very long geological periods. Because of this, once they are depleted, they take millions of years to regenerate, making them finite. On the other hand, renewable resources are those that can be naturally replenished or reproduced through physical, chemical, or mechanical processes. Examples include solar and wind energy, water, forests, and wildlife. These resources are sustainable if managed properly. Finally, considering the classification by exhaustibility, it's important to understand that non-renewable resources are limited and can be exhausted, whereas renewable resources are replenishable and can be maintained over time with proper management. This distinction is crucial for sustainable development and resource conservation. Now, let's take a look at the different categories of resources based on ownership. First, we have international resources. These are resources that are regulated by international institutions, such as oceanic resources beyond 200 kilometers from a country's coast, which falls outside national jurisdiction. These are managed collectively to ensure sustainable use and prevent conflicts. Next, we have national resources. These are resources that belong to a specific nation. Think of things like roads, minerals, or territorial waters, assets that are under the control of the government or the state and are used for the benefit of the country's citizens. Moving on, community resources are resources accessible to all members of a community. Examples include village commons or public parks. These are shared resources meant for communal use, promoting social cohesion and local well-being. Finally, we have individual resources. These are privately owned resources, such as land owned by farmers, plantations, or property in urban areas. Ownership here is by individuals or private entities, which gives them the right to use or manage these resources as they see fit. Understanding these classifications helps us grasp how resources are managed and utilized across different levels: international, national, community, and individual, highlighting the importance of ownership in resource management and sustainability. Let's take a closer look at some of the issues related to resource use. As we explore this, it's important to recognize that managing resources effectively is crucial for sustainable development. One key point is that overconsumption can lead to resource depletion, which not only harms the environment, but also threatens long-term economic stability. Additionally, inefficient use of resources often results in waste and increased costs, which can negatively impact communities and industries alike. Another important aspect is the environmental impact. Excessive use of natural resources can cause habitat destruction, pollution, and loss of biodiversity. Throughout this presentation, we've emphasized the importance of responsible resource management, and understanding these issues helps us see the bigger picture of sustainability. Addressing these challenges requires us to think critically about our consumption patterns and adopt more sustainable practices moving forward. Let's take a closer look at some of the problems caused by indiscriminate resource use. First, we see that global warming, ozone layer depletion, and environmental degradation are major issues that threaten our planet's health. These are interconnected problems that result from excessive exploitation and pollution. Next, we observe that resources have often been accumulated in the hands of just a few people, which leads to social division and inequality. This concentration of wealth and resources can cause social tension and unrest. Finally, many vital resources, like forests, have been severely depleted. This loss not only impacts biodiversity, but also affects climate stability and the livelihoods of communities dependent on these resources. All these points highlight how reckless resource use can create serious environmental and social challenges, emphasizing the importance of sustainable practices. Let's now turn our attention to sustainable development, a crucial concept in our overall discussion. Sustainable development is about finding a balance between meeting our current needs and ensuring that future generations can also meet theirs. It's not just about environmental health, but also about social equity and economic stability. When we talk about sustainability, we're emphasizing responsible use of resources so we don't deplete them faster than they can be replenished. This involves integrating sustainable practices into business, policymaking, and daily life. Ultimately, sustainable development is key to creating a resilient and equitable future for everyone. It ties into our broader theme of responsible growth and innovation. Today, I want to talk about a concept that's really central to our overall discussion on responsible growth. It's called sustainable development. Basically, it's about economic development that doesn't harm the environment, so we're growing and improving our quality of life, but in a way that protects our natural resources. And an equally important part of this idea is that it considers the needs of future generations. We want to make sure that the progress we make today doesn't leave them with a depleted or damaged environment. So, sustainable development is really about balancing economic growth, environmental protection, and social well-being, making sure all these elements work together for a better, more resilient future. This concept ties directly into our overall theme: how we can pursue progress while being mindful of our planet and future generations. Let's talk about resource planning. This is a crucial part of managing any project effectively. First off, resource planning involves identifying the necessary resources, people, equipment, materials, that we need to complete our project successfully. It's about making sure we have the right resources in the right quantities at the right times. This helps us avoid bottlenecks and ensures smooth progress. A key point here is to balance resource availability with project demands. Overloading a team can lead to burnout, while underutilizing resources wastes potential. So, it's vital to plan carefully and adjust as needed. Also, integrating resource planning with our overall project schedule is essential. It allows us to see potential conflicts early on and make proactive adjustments. This alignment ensures our project stays on track and within budget. In the context of the overall presentation theme, resource planning underscores the importance of strategic foresight. It's about proactively managing what we need so we can deliver value efficiently and effectively. Resource planning is really about the skill or technique of making sure we use our resources effectively. When we talk about resources, we're referring to everything from manpower and equipment to time and materials. Proper resource planning helps us allocate these assets in a way that maximizes productivity and minimizes waste. It's a crucial part of project management because without it, even the best plans can falter due to poor resource utilization. By focusing on resource planning, we ensure that the right resources are available at the right time, which keeps the project moving smoothly. This concept ties back to our overall goal of delivering projects efficiently and successfully. So, in this slide, we're looking at how to effectively match resource development plans with the broader national development plans. This alignment is crucial because it ensures that our resource utilization supports the country's overall growth and sustainability goals. Next, we focus on planning for exploitation. This means developing a solid planning structure, which includes choosing the right technology, building the necessary skills, and establishing proper institutional setups. All of these elements are vital to manage resources efficiently and responsibly. Then, there's the step of identifying and listing resources. This involves surveying, mapping, and measuring both the qualities and quantities of resources we have. Accurate data here is essential. It forms the foundation for making informed decisions and planning properly. Finally, these activities are part of the stages of resource planning. Each stage builds on the previous one, guiding us from assessment to implementation, ensuring that our resource development aligns seamlessly with our national objectives. This integrated approach helps us maximize resource benefits while supporting sustainable development. Let's talk about the importance of resource planning. Resource planning is a critical aspect of successful project management because it ensures that we have the right people, tools, and materials available when we need them. By planning resources effectively, we can prevent bottlenecks and avoid overallocation, which can lead to burnout and delays. It also helps us allocate our budget wisely and make informed decisions about where to invest our efforts. When we integrate resource planning into the overall project strategy, we improve our chances of staying on schedule and within budget. Ultimately, good resource planning supports smoother execution and helps us deliver quality results. So, understanding its importance is key to managing any project effectively from start to finish. Resource wastage can be significantly reduced through proper planning. When we plan wisely, we make sure resources are used efficiently and not squandered. Overexploitation of resources is another issue we need to address. If we take too much from nature without giving it time to recover, it can lead to depletion and environmental harm. Self-sufficiency, however, varies across different regions. Some areas might be rich in particular resources, while others may lack them entirely. For example, Rajasthan is abundant in solar and wind energy, but has very limited water resources. This uneven distribution highlights why balanced development is crucial for India's progress. Reducing environmental pollution is also an essential part of this effort. When we manage our resources carefully, we not only protect the environment, but also promote sustainable growth. Overall, resource planning is vital because it helps us use what we have wisely, ensures equitable development, and preserves our environment for future generations. Let's talk about resource conservation. This is a crucial component of sustainable practices. Essentially, it means using our resources wisely and efficiently to minimize waste and environmental impact. When we conserve resources, we're not just saving materials, we're also reducing energy consumption and lowering greenhouse gas emissions. This ties directly into the overall goal of creating a more sustainable future for everyone. Small actions, like reducing water usage or choosing energy-efficient products, can make a big difference over time. Remember, resource conservation isn't just an individual effort, it's a collective responsibility that helps protect our planet for future generations. Now, let's talk about resource conservation. This is the planned use of resources in a way that meets our current needs without depleting them for future generations. Essentially, it's about managing what we have wisely. By conserving resources, we're ensuring that we can continue to rely on them tomorrow and beyond. This concept is central to sustainable development because it balances our present demands with the preservation of the environment for those who come after us. It's important to remember that every small action counts, whether it's reducing waste, reusing materials, or using resources more efficiently. So, resource conservation isn't just a good practice, it's a necessary approach to safeguard our natural world for the future. Conservation helps protect the environment by ensuring that our natural resources are used wisely. When we conserve, we reduce wastage, which not only benefits the planet but also contributes to economic progress. Many resources we rely on are non-renewable and exhaustible, meaning they can run out if we're not careful. By practicing conservation, we can extend the availability of these resources, making sure they last longer for future generations. So, the reasons for conservation are really about safeguarding our environment, promoting sustainable use, and supporting long-term economic stability. Gandhiji's ideas on resource conservation are truly inspiring and still very relevant today. He believed that conserving resources is not just about saving nature, but also about respecting what we have and using it wisely. Gandhiji emphasized the importance of simplicity and mindful consumption, encouraging us to avoid wastefulness. He saw resource conservation as a moral duty, linking it to values like honesty and humility. By conserving resources, we contribute to sustainable living and help reduce the burden on our environment. His ideas remind us that every small effort counts and that living simply can lead to a more equitable and peaceful world. Connecting this to our overall theme, Gandhiji's approach teaches us that responsible resource use is essential for building a better future for all. According to Gandhiji, there is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed. What he's emphasizing here is that our resources are limited, and sharing them fairly is essential. He believed that greed and selfishness drive people to exploit resources beyond what is necessary, which leads to depletion. Additionally, Gandhiji pointed out that modern technology, when used selfishly or irresponsibly, can exacerbate this problem. So, his core idea is that sustainable resource use comes from reducing greed and fostering a sense of community and responsibility. This ties into our overall theme of mindful living and sustainable development, reminding us that caring for the environment is fundamentally about caring for each other. Let's take a closer look at land degradation. This is a major issue that affects many parts of the world today. Basically, land degradation refers to the decline in the quality and productivity of land, often caused by human activities or natural processes. It includes problems like soil erosion, loss of fertility, and desertification. These issues are not just environmental, they also threaten food security and livelihoods, especially for communities that depend directly on the land. Understanding land degradation helps us see why sustainable land management is so crucial. If we don't address these problems now, we risk further environmental damage and increased vulnerability to climate change. It's a key part of the overall theme of environmental sustainability and resilience, reminding us that protecting land is essential for our future. Land degradation is a serious issue that results from several human activities and natural processes. One major cause is large-scale soil erosion, which can be driven by running water during heavy rains or by wind, especially in arid regions. This erosion strips away the topsoil, making it difficult for plants to grow and disrupting the ecosystem. Another contributing factor is the dumping of waste materials from mining centers. When waste is improperly managed, it can contaminate the soil and water sources, further degrading the land's health and productivity. Over-irrigation also plays a role, as excessive watering can lead to soil salinization and waterlogging, both of which hinder plant growth and diminish land quality. Similarly, overgrazing by livestock damages vegetation cover, leaving the soil exposed and more vulnerable to erosion. Lastly, pollution from various sources adds to land degradation by contaminating the soil and disrupting natural processes. All these factors are interconnected and highlight the importance of sustainable land use practices. Addressing land degradation is crucial for maintaining healthy ecosystems and ensuring food security for future generations. When it comes to land conservation, one important step is chemically treating industrial waste to remove harmful substances. This helps prevent soil and water pollution, protecting our environment and public health. Controlling mining activities is also crucial. By regulating these activities and adopting new technologies, we can significantly reduce wastage and minimize environmental damage. Another effective measure is preparing shelter belts of plants, which act as natural barriers against wind and help stabilize sand dunes, preventing desertification. Additionally, preventing soil erosion is vital, and we can do this by ending deforestation, managing grazing practices carefully, and practicing terrace farming on slopes. All these measures are interconnected and essential for maintaining healthy land ecosystems. They support our overall goal of sustainable land use, ensuring that our environment remains productive and resilient for future generations. Soil as a resource is incredibly vital for our environment and our survival. It's not just dirt, it's a complex ecosystem that supports plant growth, which in turn supports all of life on Earth. When we talk about soil, we're referring to a dynamic system that provides nutrients, filters water, and even helps regulate climate. One key point to remember is that soil is a finite resource. Unlike some other natural resources, it takes a long time to form, sometimes hundreds to thousands of years. That's why its conservation is so important. It's also crucial to recognize that soil quality can be affected by human activities like farming, deforestation, and urban development. These actions can lead to erosion, loss of fertility, and pollution, which threaten food security and ecological balance. By understanding the importance of soil as a resource, we can better appreciate the need for sustainable management practices. Protecting soil health isn't just about agriculture. It's about safeguarding the foundation of life itself and ensuring a healthy planet for future generations. The uppermost layer of the Earth's crust, which is loose, broken, and incredibly useful for plants, is called soil. Soil is essential because it provides the nutrients plants need to grow and thrive. It's made up of a mix of mineral matter, like sand and clay, and organic matter, which includes humus, bacteria, and earthworms. These organic components help enrich the soil, making it more fertile and better suited for supporting plant life. Understanding soil as a resource highlights its importance not just for agriculture, but for maintaining healthy ecosystems overall. It's a vital part of our environment that we must protect and preserve. Let's take a closer look at the factors influencing soil formation. First, vegetation plays a crucial role because it affects the amount of humus in the soil. Humus is vital for soil fertility, So more vegetation generally means richer, more fertile soil. Next, the nature of the parent rock determines the soil's composition and texture. Different rocks break down in different ways, affecting the mineral content and grain size of the soil. Moving on, topography impacts how soil develops by influencing water runoff and erosion patterns, which can shape the soil profile over time. Finally, climate is a major factor because it decides the rate of weathering and the type of vegetation that can thrive. In essence, all these factors are interconnected and help us understand the complex process of soil formation, which is key to managing our natural resources effectively. Now, let's take a closer look at the types of soil found in India. As you can see, India has a diverse range of soils, each with unique characteristics that influence agriculture and land use. The main types include alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, laterite soil, and mountain soil. Alluvial soil, which is deposited by rivers, is quite fertile and covers large parts of the Indo-Gangetic plains. Black soil, also known as regur soil, is rich in clay and ideal for cotton cultivation. Red and yellow soils are typically found in the warmer regions and are rich in iron oxide, giving them their distinctive color. Laterite soil develops in tropical regions with high rainfall and is rich in iron and aluminum. Mountain soil, found in the Himalayan region, supports forest growth and some types of agriculture suited to the mountainous terrain. Understanding these soil types helps us grasp how agriculture adapts to different regions across India and how soil management is essential for sustainable development. Alluvial soil is primarily divided into two parts, Khadar and Bangar. Khadar refers to the new alluvium, which is deposited recently by river floods, making it quite fertile. Bangar, on the other hand, consists of old alluvium that has accumulated over a long period. This soil is formed through the deposition of fine silt by rivers, which enriches the land and makes it highly suitable for agriculture. You'll find this type of soil mainly in the northern plains, Gujarat plains, and coastal regions of India. It's actually the most fertile and widespread soil in the country, supporting a large portion of India's agriculture. So, understanding the characteristics of alluvial soil helps us appreciate why these regions are so vital for farming and food production across India. Now, let's talk about black soil, which is quite significant in our discussion of soil types. This soil has a high water-retaining capacity, meaning it can hold a lot of moisture, which is very beneficial for crops. You'll mostly find this type of soil in the Deccan region, an important agricultural area. It's also known as regur soil, and one of its main uses is for cotton cultivation. The rich, dark color and its moisture retention make it ideal for growing cotton and other crops. Understanding the characteristics of black soil helps us appreciate how geography influences agriculture and the types of crops that can be successfully grown in different regions. Today, I want to talk about red soil and what gives it its distinctive color. The red hue is primarily due to the diffusion of iron within the rocks, which reacts with oxygen to form iron oxides, giving the soil its characteristic red appearance. You'll often find this type of soil in areas with low rainfall because the limited moisture helps preserve the iron oxides and prevents leaching. Additionally, red soil tends to have a porous and friable structure, making it quite crumbly and easy to work with. This combination of iron-rich composition and specific environmental conditions makes red soil a distinctive and important part of many landscapes. Overall, understanding these features helps us appreciate how soil properties are closely linked to both mineral content and climate. Laterite soil is quite unique because it's rich in iron and aluminum, which gives it that characteristic reddish color. However, despite these minerals, it's actually quite poor in nitrogen and potash, which are essential nutrients for plants. This means that while the soil has some valuable minerals, it's not naturally very fertile for most crops. Another important point is that laterite forms predominantly in areas with high temperatures and heavy rainfall. These conditions promote the intense leaching process, where soluble nutrients are washed away, leaving behind these mineral-rich but nutrient-poor soils. Understanding laterite soil is crucial because it highlights how climate influences soil formation. And in terms of agriculture, knowing its limitations helps us figure out how to manage or improve such soils for better crop production. Let's take a closer look at arid soils. These soils are characterized by a high salt content, which is a key feature. This high salinity can make it difficult for plants to absorb water, affecting their growth. Additionally, arid soils tend to lack moisture overall, which is not surprising given the dry conditions. They also lack humus, meaning there's very little organic matter to improve soil fertility or help retain moisture. You'll often find these soils in arid and semi-arid regions, where the climate is dry and evaporation rates are high. This combination of high salt, low moisture, and minimal organic material creates a challenging environment for plant life. But understanding these conditions is crucial for effective land management and agriculture in such areas. Overall, arid soils are a clear example of how extreme environmental factors shape soil properties and influence ecosystems. When we look at forest soils, you'll notice they vary quite a bit in structure. In the valleys, for example, the soil tends to be loamy, which means it has a good balance of sand, silt, and clay, making it ideal for plant growth. On the other hand, on slopes, the soil is often coarser-grained, which affects how water drains and how roots penetrate. These differences are really important because they influence the types of vegetation that can thrive in each area. Additionally, you'll find that forest soils are typically found in regions with sufficient rainfall. This ample moisture supports the rich biodiversity we associate with forests and helps maintain the soil's fertility. Understanding these characteristics helps us appreciate how forest ecosystems function and how vital healthy soils are for sustaining these environments. Overall, the structure and location of forest soils are key to their role in supporting lush, thriving forests. Soil erosion is essentially the process where the top layer of soil gets removed. This can happen naturally through agents like water and wind. However, it's often accelerated by human activities, especially deforestation and certain agricultural practices that aren't sustainable. When trees are cut down or land is misused, the protective cover that keeps the soil in place is lost. As a result, the soil becomes vulnerable and can be washed or blown away more easily. This process is a major concern because topsoil is the most fertile part of the land, crucial for healthy crop growth. Understanding soil erosion helps us see the importance of sustainable land management and conservation efforts to protect our soil resources for the future. Let's take a closer look at some effective soil conservation measures. One key method is planting lines of trees for shelter, which helps protect the soil from wind and water erosion. These shelter belts act like natural barriers, reducing the impact of harsh weather. Another important technique is terrace farming. By creating terraces on sloped land, we can significantly reduce soil erosion that occurs when water runs down steep slopes. It's like building steps on a hillside to slow down water flow and prevent soil loss. Strip cropping involves leaving grass strips between different crops. These strips help break the force of the wind and also slow down water runoff, which keeps the soil in place and maintains its fertility. Finally, contour plowing is all about plowing along the natural contours of the land. This practice decelerates water flow across the soil's surface, reducing erosion and helping water soak into the ground more effectively. All these measures, planting shelter belts, terrace farming, strip cropping, and contour plowing, are vital tools in our soil conservation toolkit. They work together to protect the soil, improve land productivity, and ensure sustainable farming practices for the long term. So in conclusion, I want to emphasize the key points we've discussed today. We've explored how effective communication is essential for success, whether in leadership, teamwork, or individual growth. Remember, clarity and active listening are the foundation of strong connections. By applying these principles, we can foster better collaboration and drive positive change. Ultimately, this ties back to the overall theme of continuous improvement and adapting to new challenges. Thank you for your attention, and I encourage you all to take these insights forward in your own journeys. Thank you all for being here today. I want to take a moment to wrap up and emphasize some of the key points we've discussed. Throughout this presentation, We explored how these concepts tie into the larger picture of our work and goals. It's important to remember that the ideas we've covered are interconnected, and implementing them can really make a difference. I hope you found this session both informative and inspiring. Thank you again for your time and attention.